What is going on to all my servant fans out there, and welcome back to my channel. We are back discussing this 4th season, episode 2, which was titled Itch. Now in this episode, we see Leanne begins to torment Dorothy as chaos overtakes Spruce Street. Now I've been itching to talk to you all about this second episode. I'm so excited to be back, breaking it all down today's spoiler review. But before we get into today's topics, let's start the conversation in the comments below. Let me know what you all thought about this second episode, from your favorite moments, least favorite moments, and of course I want to know deeper meanings, Easter eggs, theories that you all took away from this second episode, as well as if you enjoyed today's review and my commentary, make sure you all are hitting that thumbs up button, as well as sharing this review to anyone and everyone you know that loves this show just as much as we do. With all that being said, let's get into this week's breakdown. Full spoilers ahead. As we open the episode with seeing Dorothy in bed, in pain, and let me know, do you all really think she heard Jericho screaming, or was it all in her head? But I did find it interesting in paralleling this exact scene to when Dorothy was required to be on bed rest and she was told to not be on her feet, and that goes all the way back to season 2, episode 3, which was titled Pizza. I thought this was a very interesting parallel. Meanwhile, we see Leanne wants nothing but the best for Dorothy in this episode, and she wants to take care of her, almost like a mother and daughter relationship, and she manages to convince Sean, who wants to stay home with Dorothy, to go on this GQ interview, leaving her and Julian to play mommy and daddy of the house. Now, I think it's extremely important to notice the power and control Leanne has over both characters right now, which Leanne mentions a little bit later in the episode. Transitioning over to Leanne being quickly told by Dorothy to not touch her. Dorothy wants nothing to do with Leanne this episode, but we see Leanne is very persistent despite Dorothy's cruelness towards her. Now I believe, let me know in the comments, Leanne is definitely getting a little bit of revenge right now on Dorothy based on when she was held hostage in the season 2 episode, which you all remember was episode 4, which was titled 2 o'clock. So I think Leanne's getting a little bit of pleasure after taking care of Dorothy in these very moments. Now, pivoting over to Julian in this episode, he tries to be polite with Dorothy home, and he doesn't want to have the obvious of him being in a relationship with Leanne being out for everyone to see, but she says to him that while Sean's at work and Dorothy's healing, we have to be them now. I found that to be a very interesting set of words given by Leanne in this moment, because is this her end game? If Sean and Dorothy don't get in line, she'll replace them and take over their lives by taking over their house in Jericho. Let me know what you all thought about that line in the comments below. We see a brief news clip of a reporter speaking on the violence going on in the city, which to me connects to what I mentioned in my last week's breakdown describing this new intro when we saw Leanne overlooking the city, but also connecting this directly to her being upset in the final moments of last week's episodes when we saw that crack not only being in the Turner's house, but it actually made its way out to the street. Now I wonder if that's a symbol of Leanne's rage spreading across the city. Let me know what you all think about my theory about Leanne taking over the city of Philadelphia. Now we see Leanne assures Dorothy that the city has never been more beautiful, at least in her eyes, as Leanne tries eating her, but we see Dorothy spits on her shoes, but Leanne continues to keep her composure and she gives Dorothy a gift. Now this gift is very interesting. It is a blanket made up of Jericho's old clothes, and while, as you would imagine, Dorothy hates the gift, and rightfully so, because that is something special for a mother to do. But let's go back to that blanket. You all will notice that there is that yellow outfit that goes all the way back to season 1. It is the exact same outfit that Jericho wore on the day that he died. And we also got that reveal back in season 1, episode 9, which was titled Jericho. Now, I found this to be very interesting, as we see Julian has grown to be on Leanne's side as he tells Sean, who's checking in, that the worst of it is over, as he sniffed Leanne's clothes in her closet. Now, I truly believe that since he was raised back from the dead 2 seasons ago, that he might be the most loyal to Leanne at this point in time, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But speaking of Leanne, Leanne tells Dorothy that the stair situation was an accident, and she's sorry sorry about the blanket and has a very special guest with her, and that is Jericho. Before she can hold her own son, she must take a couple bites of food first, and we see her doing that, and just for a few seconds there's a little bit of peace going on between the two characters, but that is shortly lived as we see Dorothy mentions that once she's healed, her and Jericho will be together again, and they will be together forever. Leanne doesn't like that line that she says there as we see her walking away as Dorothy tells her she hates her. Now, we got a couple returning characters that appeared in this episode, one being Toby, who's there to help out the Turners while Sean is at work, and this love triangle continues between Leanne, Toby, and Julian. But I'm still so confused on why Toby is deciding to stick around after being blackmailed by the Turners, and also, we can't forget his girlfriend last year lost her finger. Now, speaking of girlfriends, we get the return of Frank's hilarious girlfriend, Courtney with a K, paying a visit to the Warrior Queen herself after receiving a text from Dorothy. All this is clearly upsetting Leanne as it's time to witness her rage as the whole block and every single house has bed bugs. And let me be the first one to tell you, while I was watching this moment happen, I was itching myself. Let me know that you all get a little bit of itchy seeing all those bed bugs as Leanne's powers are continuing to grow stronger. And speaking of Leanne, she takes it upon herself to shave Dorothy's legs, and Dorothy is not a fan of this, and she accidentally cuts her leg. We see Leanne is forcing to put lipstick on her, but she ultimately gets bit, and Leanne is forcing her love on Dorothy, which is almost so 180 of the relationship that we saw for the first couple seasons, where we saw Dorothy kind of forcing her love on her. But you also have to remember, going back to season 1, Leanne and her mother, who was abusive, she's almost kind of putting this abusive forced love on Dorothy because that's how she was raised, and we can understand where all this kind of stems from. And also, wanting Dorothy's love so bad, I think, will only cause more trouble. Now, we have a very interesting father and son discussion about happiness as the question of Julian's happiness is posed, and we see he can't quite explain the feeling he has for Leanne. What makes me wonder, and I stated this back in season 3, do you all believe that Leanne has a spell over Julian? Like, let me know in the comments. Is it more or less when she brought him back to life that has some type of connection between the two, or do you think it's a spell, or is it actually genuinely love that Julian has for Leanne? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Meanwhile, we see Dorothy doesn't want anything to do with Sean, including him touching her, as Leanne confesses to Julian that their misery is upsetting her. No matter what she does, they cannot be pleased. And she tells him, and I thought this was a very excellent line, as she feels she's being taken advantage of, and she tells Julian it's almost like bugs crawling under your skin, as we see a crack appearing on the ceiling. Now, just in case you might have missed that, that to me 100% confirms that all these bed bugs was caused by Leanne herself. Now, as if the bugs wasn't gross enough for me, we switch to seeing Leanne helping Dorothy going to relieve herself by going to the bathroom, as we see Dorothy purposefully pushes the pee all over Leanne's face, and yes, very gross in my opinion, but we see Leanne is still somewhat calm, just aggressively takes off Dorothy's clothes so she can wash them. Let me know what you all thought about that scene and which one was grosser, seeing those bed bugs or seeing Dorothy put her pee all over Leanne. We transition to seeing one of Leanne's disciples reminding Julian of how amazing Leanne is and that this is all protection from the war which to come. She tells him, you can feel it, right? There's something that's pulling you closer to her. It's her powers, which again makes me think, does she have a spell over Julian? As we end this episode with seeing Toby making food for Leanne, and he's right now the only one taking care of her. Now, I'm so intrigued to see what they do with Toby this season because he's been in and out obviously these past 3 seasons, but let me know if you think he have a bigger role this season, or is he only going to get trapped in the web of Leanne. As we see, Leanne reminds Dorothy of all the old times they used to share together back when they were friends, but Dorothy tells her she is just evil, leaving Leanne to telling her a little secret. Her loved ones are afraid of her, and she's embracing that. And even if Dorothy decided to scream at the top of her lungs, they'll be too afraid to stop her. Right now, Leanne has complete control over the situation, and I gotta say that was one of my favorite line deliveries of this entire episode. Now, as we wrap up with our final moments, we see Uncle George makes a brief return as he sees the destruction on Spruce Street, and he can tell that Leanne's powers are getting stronger as we see him begins to pray. I'm very intrigued to see when we'll eventually get more of Uncle George in this season. We see Sean is in disbelief, hearing that GQ wants him back. You gotta know this was 100% Leanne's doing to get him out of the house, which connect that to, speaking of getting out of the house, we see Courtney with the K saying that her skin's on fire, which is another person that Leanne doesn't want in this house. And then we wrap up with this. We believe that Leanne has gotten all these players out of the home, but we're now introduced to the new live-in nurses, and according to the IMDb, their names are Bev and Bobby, and they're said to be in 5 episodes. We see Dorothy tells her that she will not win this battle, as Leanne is telling her that she's starting to get angry as she's slowly being forced out by these 2 nurses, who, I want to say it now, I'm 99.9% that they're Lesser Saints members. So overall, to me, this was a much better episode than last week's. I really felt the tension, I felt the power dynamics, and I also thought that this episode did a great job really highlighting who's the queens of this house as well as the pawns in this chess match. Now, if I were to point out any criticisms I have in this episode, I will admit that I'm a fan of the Sean character, and I hope that this isn't a testament of him continuously being in and out of the house. I hope that we get more of his backstory, in particular his past. But again, going back to the highlights, I do enjoy this chess match between Leanne and Dorothy, and I'm very curious to see on how this rage plays out with Leanne, not only in her Turner's house, but also how she's affecting the city of Philadelphia. But again, I will say it does still kind of feel repetitive. We see in this torment being happened. First it was Leanne, now it's Dorothy, but hopefully we're going to get some more of that originality and get more of those answers in the coming episodes. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, your theories below, any Easter eggs you all took away from this episode. Let's talk about that in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. Make sure to share this video, as well as if you haven't already, come and join the community by hitting that subscribe button and make sure that notification button is turned on. And if there's any Last of Us fans out there, come and join me every single Sunday where we have a live watch party followed up by an after show discussing the episode. Until then, hope you all enjoyed today's breakdown. Hope you all are staying safe. Just a reminder to come and join the community. Check out my other reviews for Servant. Check out my most recent breakdown. We'll catch you all on the next video.